Thank you very much, Dave, and thanks for everyone attending today. Now, this morning, I want to talk to you about next level entries. These are 3 new ways to enter virtually any trade. Doesn't matter which direction, if you're buying, if you're going short, or if you're trading crypto, or if you're trading 5-minute E-mini futures or weekly stocks. It makes absolutely no difference, and I really think they'll help you. Now, I'd like to start out by sharing with you what my mentors taught me nearly 5 decades ago on the trading floor of the stock exchange. We were talking about entries, and they explained to me the main problems that traders have with entries. And I'm sure after I list them here, you'll identify each one and say, yeah, I've gone through that before, or perhaps you're currently going through this problem right now or this issue. Firstly, traders often tell us that they have an adequate strategy. In other words, their strategy is okay, but they just need help in fine-tuning their entries. So it doesn't necessarily mean that your strategy is faulty or incorrect. It just means that your entries could use a little fine-tuning, meaning that perhaps you enter trades too early. Now, we've all done this before, where you get into a trade and the minute you buy or sell, it does the opposite, right? Or perhaps it just does nothing. You wait in it far too long, and then finally you exit, and then it starts to go in your direction. Or the opposite, you enter a trade too late. Perhaps you're sitting on the fence and then it takes off, but you're not really sure. You don't have the confirmation yet. So you wait and wait, and then you finally say to yourself, well, I can't miss this move any longer. I'm going to get in. And the minute you get in, it's too late. It stops its move. Or a lot of traders tell us that they want more trades, or perhaps the opposite. They want less trades. Let's say your strategy is fine, but maybe it only produces 1 signal a month. That's not enough for you. Or perhaps it's producing far too many signals. Let's say you're having 20 or 30 signals a day. You just can't handle that amount of volume. And then lastly, a lot of people have issues with entries in that they don't know how to re-enter into a trade. Let's say you have a trade, you have a nice little profit, you get out, and then you see it continues to go higher and higher or lower and lower if you're short, and you're wondering, should I get in? Well, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to re-enter. Well, we're going to address all of these issues today. I'm going to, as I said earlier, share with you 3 new ways to enter any trade, regardless of market, regardless of time frame or direction, and I think it will answer all of these different issues that most traders have with entries. And everything you'll see today is being displayed on the PTS Primo charting platform. This is a platform I developed with Pro Trader Strategies that actually auto displays these next level entries. So welcome once again. My name is Stephen Primo. I am the president and founder of Specialist Trading. For those of you who are new to my educational presentations, I've been trading now for nearly 5 decades. I started my career on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I was on the floor for a total of 16 years, and 9 of those years I was a specialist. If you're not familiar with what a specialist is or does, because there aren't a lot of them around anymore because of the advent of electronic trading. In the old days, if you wanted to make a trade, you would call up your stockbroker. The broker would put you on hold and take your order. He would contact the floor trader. The floor trader would take your order over the phone, most likely. Let's say you wanted to buy 100 shares of IBM. He would put your stockbroker on hold, walk over to the trader who specialized in making a market in IBM, which was one of the stocks I made markets in. And then he would buy or sell according to the order, and then walk back and call you back on the phone and tell you that you bought or sold 100 shares of IBM. This is the way it used to be done in the old days before electronic trading. And this is what a specialist did. Now, I made markets in roughly about 50 stocks like IBM or Waste Management. During the crash of '87, I made markets in the bull market that followed. I left the floor in the mid-90s to manage money and to trade my own account. About 15 years ago, I teamed up with Pro Trader Strategies with one goal in mind. We formalized Specialist Trading to actually educate traders. So all the things I've accumulated in my nearly 5 decades of trading, we teach our students around the world. I'm happy to say we have students in over 115 countries and in virtually every state in the United States. So you'll see that attention to detail in trying to educate you, because we feel that's really what's missing from most traders' trading plans. It's not that they don't have enough capital or they don't have enough experience. It's just that you're taking yourself out of the game and allowing someone or something else to make trading decisions for you. So the purpose that we have is simply to furnish you with this information so that you can make your own trading decisions. This, in my opinion, is the only way to become a consistent trader. Now, before we begin, as always, we're required to share this with you, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to share with you a lot of performance results by applying these three entry strategies, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And since we are first and foremost an educational company, all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, another way to get more education on a daily basis is to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. That's our handle right there. I would suggest copying that down because every day I post between 5 different snapshots of little signals that our methods have generated, also bits of financial wisdom. So once again, I would copy at SPCLSTTRADG, and feel free to follow us on X. Okay, with that stated, let's begin today's educational presentation, and I'll take your questions at the very end. I know we have limited time here, and I don't want to step on the next presenter's time, so let's wait till the end so I can introduce all these different ways in which to enter firstly. All right, so entry number one. This is what we teach our students. It's called the confirmation method. It's probably the simplest and most popular way in which to enter using our strategies and methods. And once we teach our students a strategy or a technique, we always require that they apply the confirmation method first for entries. That way they have a very solid and fundamental way of entering into a trade. So what exactly is the confirmation method? Well, this technique is for traders who want verification that the trend is continuing. You see, we're not trying to buy when something is going straight down, and we're not trying to sell, go short, when something is going straight up. We want verification that the trend is continuing in the direction of our signal. Now, the advantages to entry number one are that you enter with the trend, obviously. Now, it may keep you out of some bad trades. So that's a great positive for using entry technique number one. And once again, it's available on our platform, the PTS Primo charting platform. It's automatically displayed there for you on the platform. Now, the disadvantages are just one, mainly one, is that you're entering at a higher price. Or if you're going short, you're entering at a lower price. We know a lot of students, a lot of traders don't like this. They like to feel as if they're buying at the exact low or selling short at the exact high. Well, that's why this is called confirmation, because we're confirming that it's going in your direction. Think of a train leaving the station, all right? The confirmation method is basically waiting for the train to go in your direction. And once you see it's going in the direction in which you want it to go, then you simply jump on board. So that's what the confirmation method is. All right, so let's take a look here at this generic chart. We specifically want to leave it generic because we're going to show you all of our different entry points using this, but we don't want to have you think that, well, that only works with stocks or that only works with E-mini futures or currency pairs. No, so we purposely left it blank to show you how this will work with any market, any time frame. Now, let's say you get a buy signal here. This is one of our strategies, buy signals right here, okay? Now, if you're using the confirmation method, what you want to do is, you see, this is called the signal or the setup bar. This is the bar that's above the green arrow. This is when all the rules and requirements come into play. You don't just simply want to buy at the market. What you want to do is wait for it to trade 1 or 2 ticks above the high, which would be right here. Now, this is auto displayed on our platform. So many times you've seen that trades will close and then the next day go lower and go lower and lower. In other words, what if you had gotten a buy signal right here? Well, you would use the confirmation method, would wait for it to trade above here. And look what happened. It never did, and it continued to go lower. In fact, none of these traded above the previous bar's high. So this is where the confirmation has a lot of advantages to it, meaning that sometimes it will keep you out of bad trades. So we're only going to buy if it trades 1 or 2 ticks, okay? It just has to trade there, intra-bar. So let's see what happened. Well, the very next bar, it did. It opened roughly around there. You would have entered. Now, this is where a lot of students have trouble with this technique, because they'll say, well, Steve, I bought it here and it went up during the day, but look where it closed. So this is a bad entry, right? No, it's just telling you that you're going in using the confirmation method. And now once you have your stop in place, roughly somewhere down here, you're still in the trade. So let's watch and see how it unfolded. Well, the next day, it gapped down lower, and this is where a lot of students would say, gosh, I bought it up here, maybe I should just exit. But this is a little bit more conservative, and you wait and ultimately went in your direction. Now we can use this to the downside as well. All right, we have the market going higher, and we have our sell signal. This is the signal bar that is directly below the downward red arrow. This is also one of our signals as well. Okay, so what we want to do when using the confirmation method is not to sell short at the market, sell short on the close, or place a limit somewhere up here. What we're going to do is wait for it to trade. Now it could trade on the next bar, it could trade next 2 or 3 bars, but it has to trade below the low of this bar. All right, so let's see what happened. Well, it did. It actually opened higher, and then it traded below. So this is our entry point right here. And remember, the advantage to trading this way is, once again, let's say our sell signal was based off this bar. Well, if we had sold short off the close, well, look what happened the next 3-4 days. It never went down. And so what we want to do is wait for it to trade below the signal bar. Now, this is the signal bar right here. We would have waited for it to trade below. It doesn't have to close below, just has to trade. That's our entry point. And look what happened. It went lower. So we're confirming that we're going in the direction of our trend. Okay, so that was entry number 1. We call it the confirmation method. Once again, all our new students, we require for them to actually use the confirmation method while they're learning our new strategies and techniques. Let's move on to entry number 2. And what we call this is our close above, close below entry technique. Now, this is very similar to confirmation, but it's a little bit more conservative. So let's go into the highlights of entry technique number 2. Who is this technique actually for? Well, it's for traders who don't mind waiting for verification that the price is closing in their direction. So now, in other words, it's similar to entry number 1, that we want to be in sync with the trend, but we don't mind waiting for a close in that direction. So we're waiting for it to close in that direction. Now the advantages, once again, we are entering with the trend. We know now that we are in sync with what the market wants to do. Here's the main disadvantage with entry technique number 2. You're entering at a higher level, or if you're going short, you're entering at a lower price level. So a lot of students don't like this because of that point. They feel like, well, gosh, I'm paying higher. But remember, the advantage is oftentimes when you pay higher, your risk is less because it just continues going in that direction. But as we saw with the confirmation method, you simply bought once it traded above the high of the signal, and the next 2 days it may have gone lower before it actually took off. Let me show you what I mean here. Let's look at this same chart. Here's our same buy signal right here. Here's the setup bar above the arrow. Now, we're going to once again use this level here. This was the same level we used for confirmation, but the difference is, whereas confirmation, all we wanted for it to do was just to trade 1 tick above here, now we need it to close above here. So let's see what happened. Well, with our confirmation, we would have entered already, but since it closed below, we're not in this trade yet. So we're just gonna wait, all right? Now look what happened on the opening of the next bar. We opened much lower. Now at this point, you're saying, boy, I'm glad I didn't enter because look what, I'm already losing money. But by the end of the day, we rallied and we closed above this level. So this is where we're different from the confirmation in that we must wait for that close. And so that's our entry point. Now the disadvantage is that you are buying most likely higher because you're waiting for a close. The advantage is that you didn't have to deal with all this downward movement. And another advantage is oftentimes we've seen that with using technique number 2, once you enter, you really have very little risk because it continues to go in that direction, okay? Now let's look at our same example we used here for a confirmation, but now we're using the buy high, sell lower technique. So now once again, we're going to be accessing this point where it must trade below there, but with confirmation for our entry, we just needed to trade. But with this technique, technique number 2, we needed to close below there. As we saw right here, if any of our sells had been off these bars, we would have had a huge loss. But now we need it for it to close below there. So let's see what happened. Well, it opened and now it did close. Now this is the disadvantage. Once again, you will be entering right here at a lower price to go short. Whereas if you're using the confirmation, in this case, you would have been entering at a higher price, but that's okay because once again, the advantage is oftentimes it will just continue to go in your direction and you won't have these large drawdowns the way you did with confirmation. So there are advantages and disadvantages to all of these. Let me introduce you now to entry number 3, which is probably our most popular among our students, but we don't actually suggest our students to be applying this in the beginning. We want them to get a little more experience behind their trading before they delve into entry number 3. And we call this the 25%, 50%, and 75% entry technique. So let's talk about some of the highlights of this particular technique. Who is it for? Well, it's for traders who want to enter with lower or higher fixed limit orders. So in this case now, we're entering with a limit order that we already know in advance of the trade being signaled yet. Now the advantages are you're going to be entering at a better price. You're also going to be getting better risk reward ratios. Now also on our PTS Primo charting platform, these entries are partially available. I'll explain to you what I mean in just a few minutes. Now the disadvantages is that you may at times miss a successful trade. Why? Because if you're using a certain entry point with a limit, it may not get to that limit for you to buy. Let me show you what I mean here. Once again, let's look at our old friend here, our generic trade where we have a buy signal. And as I stated before, the bar above any strategy, doesn't have to be one of ours, could be one of yours, but where all the requirements come into play. If you have a green arrow represented, the bar above it is always called the signal bar or the setup bar. Now what you want to do is, before you even enter into the trade, once that signal or setup bar has been created or generated, what you want to do is measure from the high, that's from the high of the wick, measure the range from top to bottom, and then subtract 25%. So this would be 100%. Let's say it's 10 points, okay? Just to make it clear. All right, so we want to have a quarter of 10 points, would be 2.5 points. So this would be 25%. We would place our limit down here. So we don't care if it trades above, it doesn't matter. All that matters is this, if it trades down to this level on our next bar, we have an entry point there. Now we can also, from the very top, move halfway down. This is our 50% level. Now we would have entered right here, but if we can also enter at the 50% level, which would be right here, okay? So what we're doing now is we can enter halfway down, halfway the distance to our setup bar. And what this does is we get a better price. And on top of that, if our stop is somewhere here, we have lower risk and less risk. So this is even better. So even better than entering using a confirmation or the close above. Now we're entering at lower levels and our risk is less and we get a better price. So a better chance for a profit because we're entering at lower. Now the last level is 75% down, 75% down the distance of 100%, which would be right here. And you would have most likely entered this as well. So now you have a much better entry and your risk is much lower because you're at a much lower level. So all you're entering is these 3 points. Now there are different ways to do this. You could just pick one and say, okay, I'm only going to be entering at the 75% level, or you could spread out. Let's say you have 300 shares, buy 100 shares here, 100 shares here, and 100 shares here, or pick another one, maybe the 50% level. It's entirely up to you. But either way, if it doesn't work out in your favor, you have a much better entry point, your profit will be greater, and your risk will be much less. Now, let's look at our friend here where it didn't work out, okay? Now, the reason why the disadvantages to trading this particular method is because oftentimes you can use the same process, measure from top to bottom, and you can have your different levels right here, 25% up, 50% up, 75% up. So you can place your limit at any one of these levels. You don't care if it closes or opens below the low of this bar. It makes absolutely no difference. But either way, it doesn't matter because look what happened. It never traded at these levels. And so you missed the trade entirely. So you could have had a great trade on your hands, but you missed it because you had these limits up here. So this is the disadvantage to trading. And this is why we don't suggest that our students, our new students especially, begin using this particular entry technique, because oftentimes you may miss the trade entirely. So we want you to have a little bit more experience under your belt before you start using this. Okay, so let's recap. You have the confirmation entry. Remember, whatever your setup bar is, that's the bar where all the requirements come into play. If you trade one tick above, that's your entry point. Does not have to close there, just has to trade there, okay? If you're going short, find where your setup bar is. If you trade one tick below, that's your entry to go short. Advantages are you're trading with the trend. The disadvantages are you're not getting a great price all the time. Maybe you're getting at a lower level. The close above, close below entry technique is very similar to the confirmation entry, but we're waiting for a close either above that setup bar or a close below it. Excuse me, losing my voice here in the early morning. And the last entry technique is what we call the 25, 50%, and 75 entry point. That, as you just saw, is where you place limits based on those levels of the setup bar. So as you see, the setup bar is extremely important with all of our strategies. We want to know the bar either above the arrow or below the arrow. That's going to determine where we enter. Now, the main problems traders have with entries that you can apply with all these issues is that, remember, their strategy is okay. They just need help fine-tuning. You'll enter a trade too early. You'll enter a trade too late. You want more trades, maybe less trades, or you don't know how to re-enter. I think these three strategy techniques I just shared with you will help you if you have any or all of these issues. And these are the things that our new students tell us, and that we resolve their problems or their issues with entries once they learn these three advanced entry points. Now, go back and look at your last 10 or 20 trades and see if these next level entries could have helped improve any of your trading results, okay? I really think once you go back and check, you could have had better profits or less risk or better entries altogether. And now you know how to apply them. Now I want to talk to you about today's special offer. We have a great offer for all of you attending today. And it's what we call our Secrets of a Stock Exchange Specialist training sessions. Some years ago, I was asked to be the head speaker at a conference, a trading conference in Denver, Colorado. And I spoke for 3 hours, and this is a recording of that session that I gave to a conference in Colorado. I talk about many more high probability trading edges, similar to what you saw today. I also talk about which indicators not to use, more importantly than which indicators to use, talking about which indicators not to use. I go into detail about the difference between a system versus a strategy, and I also share with you what I feel is the #1 chart pattern that you should be looking for in any strategy or any technique you trade. It makes no difference, okay? I give 3 different ways to be on the right side of the markets. Now, all these different trading edges, all these different techniques can be applied to any market and to any time frame. This is 3 hours of trading techniques, but here's one of the best things about our Secrets of a Stock Exchange Specialist sessions. You get the complete rules, entry, exit, stop placement to one of our most powerful as well as popular strategies. This is strategy #1. Let me share with you some of the highlights of this, okay? Here's the older chart in ARMS with strategy #1. Now, strategy #1 is a pullback strategy. So what does that mean if you're not familiar with a pullback strategy? Well, a pullback looks for a trend, and as you see here, we have a nice upward trend going. But rather than just buying at the market indiscriminately, pullback traders like to buy at lower levels when the price is going up and then sells off. You want to buy at these lower levels here, and then it goes up again, sells off, and you want to buy here again, goes up again, and then you want to purchase right here. All right. Well, let me share with you where strategy #1 generated the buy signals. These are all strategy #1 buy signals, all right here. All on our platform, all you'd have to do is click on strategy #1, and they automatically appear. Okay. They were all at these lower levels that you could have taken advantage of. Now, the last buy signal that was generated right here, look what happened the very next day. Now, this can work to the downside as well. All right. Now, someone would look at this and say, well, Steve, that chat room I go to says there's major support here. And so I've got to buy this, right? Look, we have a bullish engulfing pattern. Looks like we have 3 upward closing days. reversal here. I've got to buy this, right? Well, once again, strategy number one deemed that this was still in a downtrend and this was just a pullback, a little bounce. So where everyone else thought you should be buying, strategy number one was alerting our students to sell. And in the next 4 days, the stock fell 25 points. So you're going to get the complete rules, entries, exits, stop placement, money management to strategy number one, along with 3 full hours of trading techniques and methods. These are things that have taken me nearly 5 decades to accumulate. They're all yours. Now, let me share with you and break down some of the costs here. Normally on the my sister site, Pro Trader Strategies, the entire session and the Strategy 1 course go to close to $1,000. It's jam-packed with that much information. But here's what we're going to do. For a limited time only, we're going to discount this down to $37, okay? $37, you're getting 5 decades of information plus a full strategy that our students love. Is one of our most popular strategies for just $37. Think of that. You probably can't even go out to breakfast for 2 people for less than $50 these days, but for $37, you're getting 5 decades of information. Remember, as I stated in the beginning of the presentation, we are first and foremost an educational company, and the one thing that we really want to do is provide our students with education so that you can make your own trading decisions. I think you'll see that this 3 hours of information and techniques and methods and a strategy will really take your trading to the next level. Now, we're not going to just stop there. We're actually going to throw in an extra bonus. If you take advantage of this $37 very short time limited offer, we'll also, along with your purchase of the Secrets course, we will include a 50% discount, half off on any other product that we teach and sell. So any other indicator, any other strategy, any other method that you're interested in, perhaps you're interested in a particular method that goes with a particular type of market, we will also give you 50% off on any of those, okay? But it must be along with your $37 Secrets course order. Take charge of your trading. This is what the problem that I found in my 50 years of trading that most students come involved with, and myself included, is that you take yourself out of the game and you don't take charge of your trading. You allow someone to do it for you. So you either go to a chat room or a trading room and find out what they're doing, or listen to the guy on TV and do whatever he says, or some trading guru, but you're not making your own trading decisions. Our sole purpose is to provide our students around the world with information that has stood the test of time so that you can make your own trading decisions. Take charge of your trading for the very first time with our Secrets course. Remember, in my 5 decades of trading, the only traders I know who are still around are the ones that make their own trading decisions. They don't have a system automatically spit out buy and sell signals for them that they don't have any idea what they're based off of. They don't go to trading rooms or chat rooms, or they don't listen and wait for earnings to come out. They have a simple plan in place and they're in charge. So that's what we want to do. We want to instill that in all of you and hope this course will start you along the way. So here's how to take advantage of this. Contact my sister site, protraderstrategies.com. I would highly recommend giving them a call at the phone number below, area code 310-598-6677. They have trading consultants manning the phones right now. They would be more than happy to take your order over the phone or to answer any question you may have about other techniques and strategies and systems, and we can offer you 50% discount off as well, okay? Now that link you see at the bottom is the link that will take you to the offer. It's not a live link though, but I believe Dave may be posting that in the chat box or the question and answer box for you to click on, and it will open up a browser for you automatically, okay? I think we have about 5 or 10 minutes or so for any questions. If you have any questions concerning what I went over today or anything, now would be the time to ask. I guess I'll open up the little chat box right here. One of the things, I don't see any questions right now, but one of the things a lot of students ask me in my private sessions, and this is something, once again, that is probably our most popular question, so I'll answer this just off the bat before anyone even types it in. They'll say, Steve, listen, I haven't been trading long enough, or maybe my strategy doesn't work, so I don't really have confidence in it, or I just have never traded this way before. I'm more of a fundamental type of investor, and I'm not sure I understand all of this. Not to worry. each and every one of my students, regardless if you've been trading for 30 minutes or if you've been trading for 30 years, you all get my private email address. So this is the next best thing to having me sit next to you. If you have a question, or if something doesn't make sense, or if you just want me to check your work, you can shoot me an email whenever you'd like, prior to the opening, during market hours, after the close, even on the weekends, and I will answer your email questions. And so these questions, if you want privacy, they don't go to an intern, they don't go to a salesperson, they come directly to me. So if you're uncomfortable about sending, or asking a question, don't worry, no one will see it except me. And so each and every one of my students gets my private email address. As I said, it's the next best thing for me having sit next to you, and I can answer any question right away, okay? Well, I don't see any more questions. Dave, I don't know if you've gotten any questions from anyone else, but if not, I guess that'll bring us to the end of the presentation. I just want to say, remember, this is a very short-term limited offer, $37 after, I believe, the weekend, possibly at the latest, it goes back up to close to 1,000, and that 50% offer on any other product we teach or sell is not included. So if you're at all interested in taking charge of your trading, please contact Pro Trader Strategies, 310-598-6677. They'd be more than happy to work with you, and they can take your order over the phone as well. And you can start looking at that and listening to that 3-hour video session as early as today, okay?